Today on the What If Brigade, I want to talk about sword buying advice for new sword buyers. And while I got this video watching a relative sword expert, Matthew Jensen, talk about sword buying advice for new sword buyers, I am not an expert. I am a noob at sword buying. And so my advice is going to feature a lot of moral of the story and learn from your mistakes, and not necessarily what you should do. But the first sword or sword-like object that I ever had was my Kung Fu training sword. And a lot of the experts talked about joining a martial art where you could learn how to use your sword. And this is not a real sword. It is blunt. It does do surprisingly well in terms of performing the moves, and then also you can use it a little bit against other sword-like objects or against a staff, and it's great for getting instruction on how to use swords safely and how to incorporate your particular martial art. So that part went well. Next, I decided I really wanted a gladius. And here's where things went a little bit off the rails. I got a couple of machete type gladius, very cheap. And the one that I really wanted, this one, I was actually very disappointed in. I liked what the online reviews on YouTube said. I liked what the internet reviews said. But when I actually got it, I don't like the grip. I don't like the balance. Even though it is much sharper than the other one that I got when it came. I don't like the edge bevel, and I just rarely use this at all. It is very pointy, but yeah, I was very disappointed in this, and so this is an important lesson. Just because something is well liked on the internet doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to like it, and that's really driven home by this next gladius, which actually came in the same batch. It was a buy one, get one special. And this is the United Cutlery Combat Commander Gladius. And it is very tactical. It has a little glass breaking device here. But I like this grip much better. I like it. It came pretty dull. I had to sharpen it, but I like this edge bevel better. I like the way this feels in my hand. And just overall, much happier with this particular purchase, even though I just kind of got it on a whim. And so, yeah, and you know, it is a gladius machete, so you know, it's not the greatest sword in the world, but I did see it featured on Shadiversity once, so you know, it's not completely useless. And you know, both of these were very inexpensive. One of the things that I saw on sword buying advice from the experts was that you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money. And I will caution you that if you're not buying a katana, then swords can get quite expensive very quickly. Even though there are cheap gladius to be had, you can find a relatively cheap gladius for, at the timing of this video, about $200, where you can find a relatively cheap katana for about $50. And so if you're not buying a katana, if you're into messers or cutlasses or long swords or something that isn't a katana, then the prices are going to be a little bit more. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was probably the best purchase of the haul of 3 that I got here. And this is a Cold Steel training gladius. And considering there aren't a lot of martial arts schools that will train you in the gladius, the training is surprisingly hard to find. Having a training sword is very important. It says always wear protective equipment and eye protection. Good advice. The only thing that I would say, so I really like this. This is great. I get probably more use out of this than the 2 sword machetes that I got. The only thing that I would add to this, and perhaps I'll make a part 2 to this video, is that I would really recommend getting 2 of these so that you could practice against someone else using it. Because if you have just the one, you can do moves, of course, but you can't necessarily use it against another person. So this has been the What If Brigade, new sword buying advice for new buyers. And what about you? Have you ever bought a sword, and do you have any good advice, pros and cons, things that went wrong with your purchase? If you do, go ahead and put them down in the comments below, and have a great day.